Home prices are not getting any cheaper, but guess what? Rent is also not getting any cheaper. So if you want to become a homeowner, there are ways to try and make that happen for you. I'm your host, Frederick Middlebrooks, and you are tuned in to the Greatest Asset Community Podcast. This episode, we are going to be talking about down payment assistance and some of the things that you can do to try and help you be able to become a homeowner, particularly with covering some of the upfront costs when we're talking about down payment. So jumping straight on into things, down payment comes at a cost. Now, this is not true for 100% of the programs out there, but for the overwhelming majority, there is a give and take with the funds that you are getting, because down payment assistance is exactly that. It's assistance. It's not free money that you're getting for the purposes of being able to purchase a home. It is assistance. And many of the programs in some form do have increased cost or fees in order for offering you that assistance, basically. And so some of those are increased interest rates and increased fees when it comes to closing. So when you use a down payment assistance program, they don't all come with an increased interest rate, but it is very common for your interest rate to be slightly higher with a lot of the down payment assistance programs out there. Again, this is something that you will just commonly see with a lot of the down payment assistance programs. In addition to perhaps having to pay a slightly higher interest rate, you also may have additional fees. So I will give you an example. This is not, again, a cover-all, but an example. So many down payment assistance programs are not offered in-house by the lender that you go to. So what that means is, let's say that you go to Bank A and Bank A offers a down payment assistance program. Bank A might not be the entity that's actually providing you those funds for the down payment assistance. They might have a partnership with lender B, and lender B is who's actually providing you those down payment assistance funds through Bank A. However, Bank A still needs to get paid for the transaction. So Bank A gets paid a broker fee for facilitating this whole transaction, basically bringing you to lender B, who's actually giving you the down payment assistance money. So that extra fee that's getting paid is something that also is going to be added to your closing costs when it comes time for you to close on that home. That's one example of what I'm talking about when I'm referencing these increased fees that you might have, is that a lot of these down payment assistance programs are coming through a bank that you are coming to. So the bank you're going to, or the lender that you're going to, is not the actual entity that's giving you the money for the down payment assistance. They're getting that money from a third party, and that third party is who's actually loaning you the money for the loan or giving you the money for the down payment assistance. However, the lender that you went to still needs to get paid on the transaction for facilitating this whole deal here. And so paying that lender, in addition to paying for the cost of the transaction and everything, is one way that you could have increased fees when it comes to down payment assistance. And some lenders, even if they are the lender that's actually giving you the money, sometimes as part of a way to help fund the program, they increase fees because that helps put money back in the pot for other people who are also going to want to use that down payment assistance. So again, I'm just offering you some examples of how you could have increased fees when it comes to down payment assistance. So these examples don't cover all of the down payment assistance out there, but just some of the ways that you could be paying more when you use down payment assistance. This is not to talk negative in any way about down payment assistance. I think down payment assistance is a good thing if it's able to help people to become homeowners who would otherwise not be able to become a homeowner. So if you're able to become a homeowner through down payment assistance, and you would no otherwise be able to become a homeowner because you don't have the money saved up to cover all the down payment and closing costs, well, then I think down payment assistance is a good thing. But I also think it's good for you to be aware of what it's actually costing you to get that down payment assistance. And so one of the things it could be costing you is increased fees, in terms of you might have increased closing costs, or an increased interest rate that you also might pay when you utilize a down payment assistance program, depending upon the down payment assistance program that you use. So those are some of the things with the cost that you could be looking at when it comes to down payment assistance. Another thing is the down payment assistance forgivable, or is it repayable, or is it required to be repaid? So you have some down payment assistance programs where if you live in the home for 5 years, then they forgive the down payment. Or if you live in the home for 10 years, then they forgive that down payment and you don't have to worry about paying it back. However, there are other down payment assistance programs where the money that you're getting, let's say that you get $10,000 for down payment, that money must be repaid over the next 10 years or over the next 15 years. So know the down payment assistance program for which you are signing up for, because that could determine whether or not the money that you're getting is forgivable or whether or not you need to repay that money back over the next however many years is set forth in the contract. Another thing that's important to know when it comes to forgivable and repayable, these are two things that also can affect your interest rate. A lot of times, again, this is not a coverall, but a lot of times when you have a down payment assistance that you take that's forgivable, the forgivable option in many cases is going to cost more than the repayable option when it comes to your interest rate. So that means that if you have, let's say, $10,000 of down payment assistance and you take a forgivable option, your interest rate might be slightly higher than if you were to take that same $10,000, but say, you know what, I'm gonna repay it back to you over the next 10 years. Then you might have a lower interest rate. So that's something you might want to think about as well, because depending upon how long you're going to be staying in that home, it could be advantageous for you to have that lower interest rate, because that will add up to thousands or tens of thousands of dollars over the years that you could save with that lower interest rate, just depending upon how long you're going to be staying in that home. So that's another thing you want to be aware of when you take the forgivable option or that repayable option. A lot of people are thinking, oh, I don't have to repay it back. It's like, yes, but you could, if you're going to be staying in this home long term, end up paying more than what you would have paid if you had just paid the down payment assistance back over the next 10 years or 15 years, because those payments could have equaled maybe $60 a month, maybe $70 a month to pay back that $10,000 or however much you received in that down payment assistance. But you end up paying even more by taking that forgivable option. It just all depends on your situation. So again, having a good loan officer that can explain to you the differences in the forgivable versus the repayable, what the fees are going to be that are associated with it, when that break even point is, so that you know, hey, I need to stay in this house at least this long. Maybe it's 8 years, maybe it's 10 years in order to make that forgivable option worth it. Or that repayable option worth it, you know, if I'm going to repay it or if I'm going to take the forgivable option. You want to know what that break even point is, so that way you know, okay, maybe I want to take the forgivable because I only plan on living in this house for 5 years and then selling it. Or maybe I want to do the repayable option because I plan on being in this house a lot longer and I want that lower interest rate. And as long as I'm here, you know, at least 7 years or 10 years or whatever, then it makes it worth it for me to pay that down payment assistance back because of the savings that you're going to receive on the back on that mortgage with those lower interest rate payments that you're going to be making. So those are some other things. Another thing in talking about the forgivable and the repayable is also called a silent second. So a silent second is down payment assistance that sits on your home as a second mortgage, but you don't have to pay it back until you sell the home, refinance, move out of the home when it's no longer your primary residence. Usually under those circumstances is when you would have to pay back that money. Otherwise, that's why they call it a silent second, because as long as you're living in the home as your primary residence and you haven't refinanced out of that loan into another loan, then you don't have to pay it. So that if you were to get $10,000 in down payment assistance, that $10,000 sits on your home as a second mortgage. There's no interest rate associated with it. So that $10,000 never becomes, you know, $11,000. It doesn't grow. It always sits there as $10,000. And then if you were to refinance, that's when you would have to pay that money back. Or if you sell your home or if you move out of the home, that's when you would have to pay that money back. So that's called a silent second. Again, you want to talk to your lender or whoever's offering you the down payment assistance so that you know the terms of that down payment assistance program, and that will help you to better navigate the best course of action that you should take. Should you take the silent second? Should you do the repayable? Should you do the forgivable option? These are all things that you really, really do want to know the details on, and also know how they line up with your plan for home ownership, how long you're going to be in this home, and what your future plans are for where you want to move to next. So moving along from there, we're going to talk about seller concessions, because this is one of the ways that make down payment assistance more of a benefit to you as a home buyer, is when you receive seller concessions from, the seller when it comes time for you to close on that home. So like I stated earlier, you have increased fees that can come with that down payment assistance. When you receive seller concessions, that can help cover those increased fees. So let's say, for example, that your lender charges 2% or 2.5% as a broker fee that they need to get paid for originating this loan with down payment assistance. Well, if you're able to get the seller to contribute 2 or 2.5% toward closing cost, well, then now you've covered that broker's fees and you don't have to pay for that out of your pocket in closing cost, because that is one of the downfalls with down payment assistance. And I use the word downfall for lack of a better term, but it's one of the things that can make down payment assistance not quite as helpful, is that if you do have that increased fee, that can be something that can really diminish how much down payment assistance is actually helping you out. For example, let's say that your lender charges 2.5% for a broker fee. Well, 2.5% of $100,000 is $2,500. So $200,000, that's $5,000. If you purchase a $300,000 home, that's $7,500. So if you were only going to get $10,000 in down payment assistance, $7,500 of that is going to go towards paying the broker fee, because that's the 2.5% that you need to pay to that broker, or that lender that you're using. So having a seller that's willing to contribute that 2.5%, now you can get the full effect of that 10,000 that's really helping you to pay that down payment, or really helping to pay that down payment for you, so that you don't have to, just take the $2,500 that's left over, or $3,000, whatever it might be. You can really utilize all of that down payment money, because again, when you add those increased fees, rather than those increased fees being added to the down payment, because your down payment is still covered, but those increased fees are added to the closing costs. So now, whereas you may have had closing costs that were $7,000, but then you add another $7,000 to it, and now you're back at $14,000, and you're like, well, a few more $1,000 and I should have just paid my own down payment. But that's one of the things that you need to know going into this thing when you're going into down payment assistance, is knowing, hey, are there increased fees associated with this down payment assistance? If so, that's not quote unquote a game stopper or a showstopper, but knowing that is like, okay, now I know that when I go to put in the offer for this home, or rather when I inform my real estate agent that this is the home I want to put an offer in on, I also need to relay to that agent, and your loan officer should relay to them as well. But it needs to be relayed that we need to try and at least ask for 3% concessions from the seller, or for the seller to contribute 3% toward closing costs to help cover some of these fees, so that my buyer is better able to purchase this home with the funds that they have available to them, so that we can still help them become a homeowner. So seller concessions is huge with helping to reduce some of those fees, so that home buyers can still purchase utilizing down payment assistance and get the full benefit of having that down payment assistance. So knowing the programs that you use for down payment assistance can really be beneficial. As I stated earlier, another way that it can be beneficial, depending upon the lender and the program, there are some down payment assistance programs that can be layered. And by that, I mean, there are some entities that are offering down payment assistance, and that down payment assistance can be used with other down payment assistance programs. So maybe this entity is offering you $5,000 of down payment assistance, and they'll allow you to layer that with this other entity that's offering $10,000 of down payment assistance. So now you have $15,000 that you can utilize for down payment assistance. And that's something that can really help you not have to come to the closing table with much at all, so that you can purchase that home that you're really looking to get into. So again, knowing those costs, so you know, hey, can this be layered? Can it not be layered? Another thing with down payment assistance, sometimes it requires that you move to a particular area. There are some down payment assistance programs that are specific to certain cities. There are some that are specific to certain counties. So you might be looking to purchase in one particular part of your state, and you're unaware that if you were to move to an adjacent city or an adjacent county, that could open up $12,000 worth of down payment assistance for you, just because you're purchasing 2 miles in the other direction or 3 miles in the other direction. So you want to do a little bit of research. Again, talking with a lender who's local, that knows the local area, can help you with that as well. But you want to do a little bit of research so that you know that, hey, these are the down payment assistance programs that are offered in the general area that is within a comfortable commute time for me to go to work, if you have to commute to work, assuming you're not working remotely. And so that can be beneficial for you in knowing those things, because hey, an extra 5 minutes to your drive could give you $12,000 or $15,000 worth of down payment assistance to help you purchase that home, because now you're purchasing in a city or a county that's offering that for that city or that county. So that's something that you also want to be aware of, because even where I'm at in Atlanta, we have this very same thing as well. There are particular counties in Georgia that offer down payment assistance, but other counties that don't. There are some cities that's like, if you live in the city limits here, you can get this down payment assistance. And then you also have down payment assistance that's based off of your income. You know, if you're 80% of the area median income, some of them go up to 100% of the area median income. I know some down payment assistance programs that go up to 160% of the area median income. It all depends on the program that you're going through. So it's really important to get the particulars of that program so that you know what your options are moving forward when it comes to down payment assistance. Another thing is, a lot of people tend to look at, oh, I don't want to live in that area. They have their heart set, they have their sights set on a particular area that they want to live in. And many people will forego the down payment assistance because it'll cause them to have to move, 5 miles in this direction or 3 miles in that direction. But I want to make mention of something, which is that the average home buyer stays in their home for 5 to 10 years. Depending upon the articles that you read, some studies say, the average home buyer moves every 7 years or every 8 years. But generally between that 5 and 10 year mark is about the average of what a home buyer will stay in their home before they sell and move somewhere else. So that move that you're making to start your home ownership journey is not a permanent move. Statistically, that move is only going to last for, several years, maybe 5, 7 years, maybe 8 years. But then you're going to sell that home and you're going to move to a different one, or you're going to keep that home and you're going to rent it out and you're going to go move to a different home. But again, all of that to just say that don't look at this as being a permanent solution. You're trying to get your home ownership journey started. And so that's the important thing, is to get started building that equity in your home and in your life so that you can utilize that equity later to step up and purchase that home in the community that you really want to be in. So if you purchase that $250,000 home, $300,000 home, whatever it is, in the area that maybe is not your favorite area of where you want to be, but if you can manage living there for the next 5 years, or the next 7 years, maybe you manage to live it there until that time, that down payment becomes forgivable at that point, or maybe you do a repayable, whatever it is, you manage to live there to that time. But over that next 5 years, over the next 7 years, that home is building up equity as it gets more and more valuable, because over the next 4 or 5 years, home prices are expected to appreciate at about 4% year over year for the next 5 years. So you can do the math with whatever priced home you're purchasing, 4% increase. Then the next year, another 4% increase. Then the next year, another 4% increase, and see how much equity you would be building in that home, assuming that home prices continue to increase at that 4% year over year for the next 5 years. That's equity that now, if you were to sell that home, you could utilize it to go and purchase a home, maybe in an area that's closer to where you want to be at. These are things that you definitely want to consider, because it might be worth it for you to take that $20,000 worth of down payment assistance from moving just slightly in this direction. And then later on, you know what, now I'm in a better position to where I've got equity in the home and I'm making more money, because your income should also be increasing every year, just like inflation is happening year over year. The cost of goods and services is becoming more and more. Just to maintain your standard of living, your income also needs to be increasing year over year. So maybe, you know, now 5 years later, you're in a better position financially to now go and purchase that home where you really want to be at. So that's something that you should keep in the back of your mind when you're maybe not really wanting to move out of the area that you have your sights set on. There could be some benefits to move into that area as well. So moving on a little bit, if down payment assistance is not an option that you qualify for, then perhaps you want to look at a USDA loan. Maybe you're not able to use a down payment assistance loan, but maybe USDA will be an option for you. It could be that you're in an area that's not offering down payment assistance, or there's no down payment, because not all areas offer it, not all states offer it. So maybe it's not not an option for you, but a USDA loan allows you 100% financing, which means you don't have a down payment. You still have closing costs, but you don't have a down payment. And the guarantee fee for a USDA loan could also be lower than what you would be paying if you had to pay for mortgage insurance, because that's kind of the trade-off. When you have a USDA loan, rather than that mortgage insurance, you pay a yearly guarantee fee, and that could be lower than what you would have to pay in mortgage insurance. So again, looking at a USDA loan, it's worth it to Google USDA eligibility map. If you type that in Google, USDA eligibility map, it's public information out there that you can find on the USDA.gov website, and you can find out what areas qualify as USDA. You could type in an address for a home. You might be surprised that there are some areas that are what you would think are more suburban, but they actually qualify for a USDA loan. A lot of people hear USDA and they think, oh, that's a rural loan for people that want to go live on farms, or people that want to buy a house on like 10 acres or 15 acres and they're living out in the sticks away from everybody. That's not true. There are a lot of homes that are in subdivisions that you can purchase with a USDA loan. You can purchase new construction homes in eligible areas with a USDA loan. I've seen many of those USDA loans that are utilized to purchase new construction homes. I've seen a lot of people that have utilized USDA loans to purchase those homes that, again, are in areas where people would think, oh, I've got to get a regular FHA or conventional mortgage. Not true. You may qualify for a USDA loan, and then you can get that home with no down payment assistance, and possibly also, again, reduce what you would have to pay by paying a guarantee fee versus having to pay for mortgage insurance. So look into potentially getting a USDA loan as well, or at least doing a little bit of searching when you're already doing your house hunt and looking at Zillow and everything. Type in the addresses of some houses that you're interested in and see if they fall in the USDA eligible area. And if they don't, look a little bit further outside, because you might be surprised that you might not have to go too far outside of where you're looking just to fall into an area where now all of the homes in this area qualify for USDA, and you could possibly purchase a home with zero money for down payment, and now you're only looking at closing costs that you would have to cover. So that's something that you want to take a look at as well and be, aware of. But overall, you want to get with a loan officer who, is local and can help you discover the best route for you to take in order to help minimize your upfront costs. Because with the ever increasing cost of home prices and in this market and in future markets to come, because believe it or not, 5 years from now, it's more likely than not that homes are going to cost more than what they do today. So if you're not able to purchase today, let's start getting you on the path to where you can purchase maybe later this year or maybe at the beginning of next year, because the sooner you get into the home, the more you're going to be benefiting from that appreciation, which is the value of your home going up over time, but also that amortization, which is you making those monthly mortgage payments, which is paying down the balance of that loan, which is also putting equity in your home. So again, having a good loan officer who can explain to you all of these things with the pros and cons of down payment assistance and how to best utilize it to help put you in a home for as little upfront money as possible is really going to be key to your success with utilizing down payment assistance. So that's all that I have for you. Thank you for tuning in and taking the time to listen. I hope you got some really great information out of this. As always, please do hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate some good feedback, helping me to continue to push this information out to more and more people. You can follow me on social media, GA Loan Officer on Instagram and TikTok. Again, that's GA Loan Officer on Instagram and TikTok. And keep following us on the Greatest Asset Community on YouTube. So we put out a lot of content on here and just try to keep you educated and informed. Feel free to shoot me a message or drop me a comment as well. I'd like to hear about some stuff that you might be having questions on, because it might show up in a future video that I end up doing as well. So thank you for taking the time to tune in. Take care. Be blessed.